A team cumulated an analysis of 323,000 viral videos, 62.6 billion views, and all of these data came from 52,000 channels. And today I am going to be analyzing these data points from a packaging point of view. And almost everything the data says, I can tell you, contradicts everything you know about thumbnails and titles. A lot of gurus say big numbers in your packaging does well, but the data proves wrong. Actually, numbers in your packaging gives you 11% lesser views. And a face on your thumbnail, as opposed to what Google says, does not change anything. In fact, it doesn't in any way impact clicks or views. For context, I didn't actually accumulate this or get 60 billion views. This is data that I am going to be analyzing and showing you exactly what I have learned from this cumulative 60 billion views. So shout out to 1 of 10. Their team were the one that accumulated this. So without further ado, let's get into the video. But before we get into the absolute monstrosity of this script, who am I? Well, my name is Mukhtar and I am a packaging strategist. I've worked with channels that you've probably seen on YouTube, channels averaging millions of views, and I've also resurrected dead channels from getting single-digit views to thousands of views. So you could say I am more than qualified to talk about YouTube data from a packaging standpoint. Let's get right into the video. Firstly, what did the data say about titles? Well, this is actually no surprise to anyone. You probably know this, but the data also proves it. Shorter titles get significantly much more views. In fact, it is not even comparable. The fewer the word count, the more the views. As the data has said, shorter titles perform better on average, and the most significant drop in performance is when titles are 10 or more words. As you can see here, there is a very high drop in performance in views when the title is more than 10 words. You might be thinking, Mukhtar, this is basic information. Well, as we go down the line, as we go further down the line, you would see some things that would make you go, what the actual fuck? And this is things that I have also seen with my clients. So let's just continue. And as the data I've said, obviously, the title word count plays a very significant role in the views. 5 words, 200,000 views, 10 words, 48,000 views, 15 words, 59,000 views. This proves that the sweet spot word count is around 10 words for both educational and entertainment channels or entertainment videos, because 5 words might not be enough for you to actually communicate what exactly the video is about, but 10 words is actually pretty good. Anything longer than that, then you might as well just write an article. So let's move on to the next thing about this data and then go into the much more controversial ones after this. The data also says easy to read title wins. 100 plus readability score equals 20% more views on average. You might be thinking, what is the difference between word count and readability? Readability is basically how easy it is to read. I mean, your packaging compared to title length, which is how long your video is. Very, very significant difference. Let me give you an example. $10,000 versus a $100,000 house. Which one is actually the best? This is a title with good readability. If you imagine that on a title, it is very easy to read compared to, does an expensive house increase comfortability? Essentially saying the same thing. Both titles are essentially saying the same thing. One is comparing a cheaper house to an expensive house to see if it is more comfortable and worth it. And the second title also signifies that, but it is just much, much harder to read. It requires a lot of brain capacity, brain cells to actually put it together. And that little subtle thing actually increases your average views by over 20%. The point here is that you make sure your titles are absolutely readable. And then let's move on to the next thing when it comes to titles, which is something that is a lot more controversial, because a lot of gurus will tell you one of the biggest curiosity gaps, one of the biggest things that attract clicks are big numbers. Basically, this data proves that only 35% of videos out of 100% use numbers, and videos with numbers got 11% lesser views compared to videos without numbers. So think twice before you add numbers to your videos. Now, let's get to the next one. This one was actually fascinating for me, which is the title emotion. Can you take a guess which emotion gets the most amount of views when it comes to titles? Well, if you said joy or funny, you would have been correct, because joyful or funny titles are actually the most clicked video according to this data set. And second behind it is controversy, obviously. And the third one is surprisingly anger. And one of the least performing emotion is actually a sad framed video. So keep this in mind the next time you're packaging for your video, because joy, controversy, and anger are one of the best ways to frame a video. So let's move on to arguably the most interesting part of this video, which is the thumbnails. The data here is actually truly, truly surprising. Wait until I show you exactly what this entails. So let's get right into it. First thing, which is literally the most said thing on Guru YouTube, is make sure your face is on the thumbnail. Make sure your face is on the thumbnail. Well, this data proves that it doesn't in any way significantly increase the amount of views that you have. In fact, even though only 24% of YouTube thumbnails has no face, it is a very, very solid contender when it comes to performance. And something that actually blew my mind is the fact that one lonely face actually underperforms no face, which means no face outperformed one face. And the significant increase came when the faces are more than one, when the faces in the thumbnail are more than one. And this is something that I've had experience with one of my clients. Videos where her face was on the thumbnail significantly underperformed by a wide margin. And when we changed the thumbnail and packaged it around what the video entails without adding her face, we got significantly more views. So this is something that I have actually seen when it comes to packaging for my clients. So the always put a face gospel is actually more or less noise on average. But before you go up thinking, maybe I shouldn't put face on my next video, it is actually subjective to niche. There are niches where faces perform better, like the finance niche, lifestyle and vlog niche, and makeup and beauty niche. Obviously, they need a face. These niches perform worse with faces, especially, and this is just a speculation of mine, it probably underperforms when you do not know who the person is. That is why Iman Gadzi, Alex Omosi, these type of people are getting a lot more views because their faces are recognizable. And you, Joshmo, who nobody probably know, putting your face on the thumbnail would negatively impact it because you are kind of just serving no purpose unless your face has an emotion that increases the curiosity. But you just smiling beside the thumbnail probably has zero impact on its performance and sometimes even impacts it negatively. The big business creators that are getting millions of views while putting their face on the thumbnail are getting it because their face is a form of social proof, which is a form of credibility that gets clicks. Another face is health and fitness because people care more about their problem rather than your face. And movies and TV shows, obviously, I do not even think I need to explain this. People want to see the movie that they are clicking for and not your own face. And when it comes to thumbnail color, it is very, very surprising to see that red is one of the least performing color on average compared to every other color. And the highest performing color or colors are cyan and green, followed by orange. Yellow and red are actually one of the least clicked colors on YouTube. And as you can see from here, they get a lot more views on average. And when it comes to thumbnail brightness, brighter images tend to perform better. There are consistently higher median views as thumbnails become brighter. So this essentially is kind of like a line that goes up. The brighter your thumbnail are, the more clicks they get. And one of the least clicked videos are one of the least bright thumbnails. This is such an interesting data set. You might want to just click off, make every title 6 words, paint every thumbnail green, delete every face, and think you will win. But that could not be much more wrong. This data cannot see your channel. Every channel is individually unique and their audience are very, very unique, clicking for different purposes. The data is a correlation across 62 billion views. And you should know that this is not just some indication of you stealing this strategy. The strategy is knowing which pattern fits your niche and buyer and which pattern breaks it, which strategy breaks it. The average lies because this is a simplification of a lot, highest and lowest meeting at the middle. It is a very, very dangerous thing to follow. And there is proof that the average lies, firstly from the data set, faces crush it in food, broad entertainment, and hot in gaming. The rule flips by niche and also flips by personality, flips by content style, flips by a lot of different variables, audience size, audience knowledge, and audience maturity, demographic. These are all variables that impact click psychology, click behavior. This is actually a proof of it. Bad hierarchy got 1 million views on this video. Muted colors got 300,000 views on this video, while other AI agent tutorials with bright colors actually significantly underperformed. This video had multiple subjects, multiple visuals, multiple things to get your eyes on. It is a busy thumbnail and got over 500,000 views, which is pretty high. And this thumbnail is literally only text and got 1.2 million views. This is not invalidating the data. This means that you can't just decide to take everything from the data and apply it to your channel and expect a significant change. You have to analyze, observe, iterate, and evolve for you to actually be able to figure out what your audience clicks. And if you click this video, you probably understand how important titles and thumbnails are to the video. They are literally 50% of the video, because if your audience does not click, if your packaging repels the type of people you want to click, then your videos get no views, or they get views from the wrong people simply because of your packaging, which is the title and thumbnail. The data can work in your favor or work against you if you do not understand your channel. You see, I honestly want every single person watching this to succeed. I imagine you click this because you have your own channel. And if you have stayed until this point, you probably have good content, you have an analytical mind, and that means you probably have strong content. So if you are not getting as much views as you think you should be getting, then you can apply to work with me with the link in the bio. I am going to audit your channel, see if we are a good fit, and if we are, then we can proceed from there. I work with not a lot of channels, and this is solely because I want to be able to focus on their strategy, focus on making their channels get as much views as possible. So only apply if you truly believe that your content is strong, it could get more views. I fix the packaging, which is the forefront of your channel, literally the most important part of your video after the idea. Quite a while ago, I packaged a video of a new client. The video was around a month old. It has already flatlined at around 20,000 views. It was technically an outlier on the channel, but because the content was strong, I knew that there is a lot more views that this video can get. We strategized the packaging, we changed the thumbnail and the title, and the video went on to get over 100,000 views from around 20 something thousand views, which is like over 3 times the views, solely because of a packaging change. But this was possible because the idea was worth packaging and the content was worth watching. So as I've said, there will be a link in the bio to work with me. And if you want to go through this data yourself, I would also link the 1 of 10 full data reports in the bio. Once again, shout out to 1 of 10. Their tool is amazing, and their breakdown was what made this video possible. Go check them out. And for context, I am not affiliated in any way to them. I just love the work that they put into this analysis. So yeah, cheers.